Smoking hot body.
I'm Jules McQueen.
And I'm Jana Waller.
And we want you
to stay gritty.
You got to shoot it for 500 arrows before you can make a decision. And I'm like, I don't walk 500 miles in boots that don't fit me.
Stumbles on his face.
And then I hear him behind me yelling, "Take your shirt off." And I was like, well, I know he's not talking to her. So, or maybe he was. I don't know. So I was like, it's going to happen. I need this cooler.
Hello, all right. You're listening to the Gritty Bowmen, home of gritty bow hunting films, interviews, tall tales, and a wee bit of manly boasting.
I'm South Cox, and you're listening to the Gritty Bowmen.
All right, folks, welcome to the Gritty Bowmen podcast. I'm here with Aron Snyder and Danny Clum and Tom Clum, and from Rocky Mountain Specialty Gear. And so we're just going to kind of get into a little introduction here and learn a little bit about you guys. Aron has been, learning how to fling sticks and stuff over at your guys' shop with a little Rocky Mountain Specialty training, and evidently he's not too bad at it. So, but you guys are kind of some stick bow experts. So, want to get you on and talk to you. So, starting with the older brother, Tom, introduce yourself.
Yeah, I kind of get overshadowed in the hunting world by my brother here because he's the killer between the two of us. But this is something, traditional archery especially is something we've been passionate about forever. And, we put our lives on the line with trying to promote and grow the sport because, we really believe in it. And we want guys to get involved in it, not because we think it's anything special or different. We just know how enjoyable it is.
Yeah. How long have you been hunting with a stick bow?
Since I was old enough to hold a bow, my dad put it in my hand.
Really?
Yeah, I was a master squirrel hunter when I was a kid, too. That was my pride.
So your dad, he still hunts with a stick bow. How long has he been, when did he first pick up his first stick bow?
I think my dad probably started shooting a stick bow in the 80s sometime. He was a rifle hunter turned bow hunter after college.
Okay.
Now, you just posted a photo on Instagram. This is the kind of shit that I love. It's got your dad with the porn stash back in the 80s.
Yeah.
With a big bull where he shot with a stick bow. And then the bull he killed 2 years ago?
2 years ago.
2 years ago, within a couple hundred yards of where he killed that bull in the 80s. He just killed one in 2013. Both of them are pigs. The one he just killed is, 330 probably?
It's 350, like right on the nose.
That's what I meant, 350. There you go. That's about the first time I've ever underjudged anything in my life. Usually I'm over. But 30 years apart, was it 20-some years apart?
Yeah, it was like 30 or 35 years. I don't remember exactly, but same drainage, literally a couple hundred yards.
Yeah, it was crazy. So anyway, they've been doing it a long time.
So how old is your dad?
62, 60, 61, right? Something like that.
Wow.
He's the legend.
All right. So, Danny, what about you?
Same thing. Yeah, I'm 32. Just grew up with a recurve, and it's what we love to do. And it's what we grew up doing, shooting bows and wrestling.
So, Aron was saying earlier offline that you guys did you wrestle in college. Tell us about that.
Yeah, back in the glory days. That was tough, too, because, you guys, half your listeners probably know how passionate they are about hunting. And that was tough to give up hunting to go and chase a dream trying to wrestle in college. So I started at the University of Wisconsin. Danny started at Wyoming and then transferred to Wisconsin afterwards. So we were in, Big Ten wrestling is kind of the epitome of the sport. And so we were right in the thick of it for quite a few years. I had to give up quite a bit of hunting to do that, and it was worth it.
Yeah.
And I did it again.
So I got to bring it up with Tommy. So Tommy was 39-1, right?
39-1
in high school.
No, I was 148-1.
That's what I meant.
Yeah.
148-1. So you crushed everyone. You never lost a match until your last match.
One, yeah.
So my buddies in Oregon know you guys, and they knew Tommy because I guess you were crushed everyone throughout. Like he said your senior and junior year, it was depressing. Like guys didn't even want to hardly wrestle you because it was that bad. But Danny, I don't know. You were good. How good were you? Because we never talked about that. We're always talking about hunting. So you were obviously one match away from undefeated. How did you do, Danny?
I did all right. I got hurt a lot, kind of all through high school through college. Just had a string of injuries in very few years. I think only 2 years between high school and college where I had a full season. So if you look at my accomplishments, they sure aren't very great, you know. But
well, you made it. Wrestling Wisconsin. So
yeah,
no doubt.
Yeah. So
it's kind of funny wrestling and hunting. You know, when we were young, everyone would always talk to me and oh, good job, Tom. Good job, Tom. Oh, I'm sorry, Dan. I don't want you to feel bad for Tom's brother all the time. And now in the archery store, the roles have flipped, man, because he's the killer. And so everyone's like, oh, Dan, you're killing all this big stuff. Oh, hey, Tommy, we think you're a pretty good hunter, too, man. We don't want to forget you, too. Like, we share each other's success, you know, in everything that we do.
Oh, yeah. You guys look a lot alike. I mean, you really do. You can tell you're brothers for sure.
That's what I like, too, because, you know, all the big stuff he kills, I tell him, people don't know the difference between us. Half of them think I killed that stuff, so.
Yeah, who killed that monster on the wall behind you?
One of us did. Probably.
What?
Yeah, no, that was Danny's bull. Getting him to talk about himself is like pulling teeth. You know, he does not want Danny here. He does not want people to know him. He does not like to talk about this stuff. But I love bragging about him. So he killed
too. He turns kind of red when you pin him down on his accomplishments. It's pretty cool, actually. And I purposely send people in there and be like, you got to go ask Danny about all the stuff he's killed, but don't let up on him because he wouldn't say if he had a mouth full of it. So he'll be like, yeah, I've done okay. I'm like, and what about all that other stuff, dude? And what's crazy, their dad, the pictures of your dad when he was younger, he could be their other brother. I mean, you could definitely tell. I mean, your dad, he looks more like Tommy, I think, a little bit than Danny, but I've only seen a few photos from minus the mustache. He's got kind of the mustache in the photos. But the shop, you know, on my end, the only reason I can actually hit anything is because of these guys and their dad. And they've got to deal with me every day doing some dumb stuff like nothing major, but Danny has gotten a kick out of me stringing my bow backwards with the big loop on the bottom because I don't know. And I'm like, hey, does the big loop go on the bottom? No, Aaron, it goes on the top or whatever. And I'm like, well, I did it backwards. Is that bad? Well, you're going to have a trouble unstringing it, right? Because of how the loops work to slide it down on the limb. Well, what was it? 3 weeks of me shooting in your shop? I'd never strung a bow before. So I'm like, hey, how the hell do you do this? Because they just set the bow up and I shot it. But you guys have, what, 300-400 bows on the wall at one time? Traditional bows?
Probably got closer to 500 now, honestly.
Yeah.
And I don't know of another place that has more. In the world, I don't know of another place that has more.
It was awesome because when I wanted to go shoot, it wasn't like I had one option to shoot. Like they were just handing me bows like, you know, a fat kid eats cake. I'm just shooting them over and over. And then, you know, the way that their tuning system works, they have a pile of arrows, all different lengths, all different sizes, to where what would normally guys would have nightmares over tuning. You know, I think Danny, you and Paul helped me originally. We went over there and Danny handed me 15 different arrows or however many it was of different lengths till we knew exactly what I needed. And I mean, hell, I haven't had to change anything since I started, right? So it's a very, very painless exercise compared to my friends that are grabbing trad bows in other areas and don't have shops like Rocky Mountain. It's an epic pain in the nuts because you don't know what you're doing. You don't know what arrows to shoot. You're probably overbowed. You're certainly probably not drawing back. Where these guys immediately, because of everything that's at Rocky Mountain specialty gear, you don't have any of those issues, and you get to pick the bow that you want. And you guys also have compounds too now. You've opened fact, you're expanding, but I mean, you've got a compound shop, the trad shop. They sharpen knives. They've got vortex optics, Swarovski. I mean, what else do you guys have? I mean, I'm in there every day, screwing around, but you guys got a ton of stuff.
Yeah, we got full line of First Light clothing, packs, tons of knives. Probably the best knife shop in Denver. Hundreds of knives in there.
It's like 400 knives, literally at one time. Oh, it's ridiculous. You don't want to go in there with a knife problem because you're going to spend some money. Because you guys have what? You're the largest Benchmade dealer around, aren't you?
Yeah, and they actually just set us up as a service center. So they brought us out to the factory in Oregon last year for 3 days of training. So anybody that's got a Benchmade knife around town that, the action gums up on it, they need it sharpened, anything that needs to be done to it, they just bring it by. We'll fix it for them, no charge. So it's pretty cool service we're able to provide people.
Yeah. Well, the broadhead sharpening, which I am probably the worst broadhead sharpener this side of the Mason-Dixon line, because they sharpen knives, but they also sharpen the broadheads.
Uh-huh.
And actually, they have their own broadhead. I actually have one here. This is can you see that? The Cutthroat. And you guys came out with that 2 years ago?
Yeah, 2 years ago, 2 or 3 years ago. Yeah.
So this is what I'm going to hunt with this year, the 250.
And what is that head?
The Cutthroat 250.
Cutthroat 250.
Yeah, the Cutthroat. I mean, it's a triangle. It's not like we came up with some ingenious broadhead or anything, but we saw a niche in the market, a small niche, in a very saturated broadhead market. It's not like there's a shortage of those. But there was no one doing a solid piece, single bevel head, and we thought somebody should be doing this, and we were kind of sitting around, and then someone jokes like, "Yeah, we should do that." We all laugh and like, wait a second, no, we really should do that. And so we came out with it, and I mean, we're selling more of those than we can keep up with. So we have hardly done any advertising or marketing, just because we're not big enough to keep up with the demand if we did do some marketing and some advertising, because like I said, it's a small niche, but it definitely fits a niche for guys that are looking for a solid piece single bevel head like that.
And my buddy, he's shooting them out of his compound, your 150. He's shooting them out of his compound because, like with my compound, I shot a 590 grain arrow, so I had a lot of point weight up front. And he got them to tune. We're out to 50 now, and we're thinking we're going to get to 60 because it's a fixed blade. It may drop a little bit, but they tuned out to 50. I mean, we got them dialed in. And what's cool, I'm not saying you want to go fire these into cinder block, but occasionally I miss the target. And this one has been flung in the buckwheat more than one time, and they're tough. I mean, or heck, sorry, Katie, they're tough. So you're very durable broadhead. And I was super surprised because you guys have a unlimited warranty, basically, right?
Yeah, unlimited, as long as you don't lose it.
Yeah, and what if I was talking to you a couple weeks ago, you've only had, 2 come back?
Yeah.
2.
Yeah,
so.
both because guys shot through something and buried it. One guy buried it into a cement water tank in Africa. Another guy hit some rocks after he shot through something. So, yeah, we haven't had a warranty issue yet that was a failure, like a bent broadhead or nothing like that.
So what's the deal between a single bevel and a double bevel?
Yeah, I mean, that's a broadhead argument that we want to alienate half your listeners that we could jump into. So,
does it cut better, or what's the story?
Cut better. So the story is,
it's just cool.
Single bevel seems to be kind of all the rage these days in the traditional world, anyways. And we've been shooting single bevel broadheads since before anyone knew anything different. My dad walked into a local archery store, and the guy said, "Here, this one will penetrate good." And so that's what he shot. So that's what we shot. But there's a guy named Ed Ashby, and he did this extensive broadhead study.
Right.
I bet a lot of your listeners know this already, but I'll kind of briefly go into it. So what he found was with the single bevel heads, when they pass through like bone or something, there's a difference in the drag between the beveled side and the non-beveled side. And so that causes the broadhead to rotate as it's pushing through something. And what it does if it's going through like bone is it will split that bone. And so when the arrow shaft is passing through, there's less drag. So that results in greater penetration because it's splitting the bone instead of pushing its way through it. And so that sparked a pretty big
oh man, what do you want to call it? I mean, there's a single bevel bandwagon right now, and there's something to it. You know, we've always great penetration with single bevel heads.
I guess that makes sense though. If you got a bevel on each side like that, and and you drive it through something, it's gonna twist.
Yeah, and you can feel it when you shoot one into a broadhead target and pull it out. You'll feel that arrow rotating as it comes out. So it really is. It is spinning as it goes through.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
So one of the other things too, like we can't cover everything, but we'll probably have Senior, your father, on later on and go over more about shooting form and tuning or whatever. But they have, I didn't know what I was doing. Right, I may have been at a high level with a compound, but I didn't know anything. So I'm kind of just snap shooting, like pretty much what everyone does. The string kind of hit my face and I let it rip. Short drawing about 6 inches. 14 inches, my arrow hanging off, and so then
making the pointy thing come out of the bendy thing.
Yeah, exactly. I didn't know. So
that's how I shoot.
Yeah, that we grew up too.
And I could kind of hit a little bit of something when I started, and then Tom Senior, he came over and showed me. Basically, he's and Tom will put you on the couch, right, and talk to you. He's really good about that. If you're doing something stupid, he should have been a professor, right? He's very good at talking to people, and he's like, look, you were at a high level, this, that, and the other thing. He's like, it's the same thing. Don't do anything different. And obviously, Danny and Tommy will help you through the rest. So he got me to anchor, hold, and basically break clean shot execution, like run my shot where I'm expanding my back and running an actual correct shot. And I'm probably doing a piss poor job at explaining that. But at first, when I did it, I was like, this sucks. This is horrible. I don't like it at all. And then he's like, just give it a day. And sure enough, the next day I was better. And then a week later, I was even better. And from what everyone was telling me, they were like, you should be able to hit a paper plate consistently by hunting season. That's your goal. And I'm like, all right, and it seems unattainable. Well, then in like 3 weeks, I'm flinging arrows at 50, hitting consistently. And it all had to do with these guys, because I look at people that I'm shooting against now that don't have the coaching or don't listen. It's not an easy road to hoe if you don't have help, where these guys every day, they probably get tired of me. I'm in there all the time, have helped me out. And then when I have tuning questions or form questions, it's good to have somebody to turn to. And then if I become a mental case, Tom will put me on the couch and talk me out of it. And he's really good at that.
So there's two things you mentioned. I'll go back to the arrow tuning thing that you mentioned before. That it seems like a mysterious thing if you don't have any experience with it. And it is a mysterious thing to a lot of guys. It's the same thing with shooting. It seems mysterious that you can pull back that bow and hit something small every time. But it's really not. And there has not been very good information in the traditional world with arrow tuning or shooting the bow for a long time. And that's starting to change now. So like what you mentioned before, Aaron, it is very similar to shooting a compound. The archery motions that go into shooting a recurve are the exact same archery motions that go into shooting a compound. We're still executing our shots with back tension and all the stuff that everyone hears about. There's small differences in where you anchor, how you aim, because you're just looking at your target. You're not lining up a pin. And then obviously releasing with fingers is different than pulling the trigger. But those motions are the same. And so, when we go through that with guys that are coming from the compound world, it makes sense to them. And they become good shots quickly. And they didn't know that they could do that until they kind of jumped in and did it and learned that, hey, it's shooting a bow is shooting a bow. It's not a mysterious thing. And it's really not as difficult to attain as it's made out to be.
I would agree. I would just say, especially the amount of, and I don't know what I'm doing. So I get all these emails and I send them to you guys or questions. I can say that if you just follow the basic rules and don't become a head case, it's really simple. Like
it is.
Don't pluck the string, have good alignment, don't collapse, all the normal stuff you don't want to do. And you'll hit what you're aiming at. I mean, it's pretty cut and dry for me now, minus a few. I'm still learning tons and tons every time I shoot. But like when I go shoot with your dad at Golden, he'll watch you when you don't know you're being watched, which is for me the best case because that's when I'm doing probably the stupidest things I could be doing. And then he'll just kind of stand you there and he'll walk you through it. Or if you make a bad shot and you're like, he'll be like, so what'd you do? You should know what you did. What'd you do? I'm like, well, I think I collapsed. I dropped my bow arm left. And he's like, hey, look, and your arrow's over there by the hoop on the left side. That's exactly what you did. If you don't have that, I guess what I'm saying is you have to have, in my opinion anyway, that help to get going and that base to start off with, or it's a quick, it's downhill fast if you don't have that base to start.
It's too easy to develop bad shooting problems if you don't know the common causes of missed shots or the common problems that guys run into. So a little bit of knowledge goes a long way. And in our store, we do this every day with hundreds of people a week. We're talking about shooting and form and all that kind of stuff. So it seems pretty normal to us now, I guess, but there's not that kind of information out there in the trad world, and I think that's about to change. We're going to try to make that change here soon too, because we've got the internet now and video. So I think the tides are starting to turn in a good way.
Yeah, for years it was the guy that kind of wrote the book on shooting a traditional bow was just teaching horrible form that did nothing but lead to target panic and snap shooting and kind of setting everybody up for failure. So everything's tipping back the other direction now, and there's good people are relearning what good shooting form is, the fundamentals and the technique, and the mental side of the shot too. So, we're lucky we got all those tools at hand now to be successful at this.
Well, and you guys are proof, and you're both horrible at talking about yourselves, but they've killed big shit, and their dad has killed. Like we were talking the other day, I'm like, how many elk have you killed? When you can't remember, you've probably done okay, because he's like using fingers and toes, and he's like 16, I think, 16 elk, and then he comes back he's like, well, so we were talking the other day. I think it might have been 18, or maybe 20. It's been a lot. Which you guys are choosy, like. Shooting shooting 18 elk isn't that big of a deal with a compound over the course of 40 years, eventually, but with a trad bow and some of the size of the bulls you guys have killed is a much bigger deal. I mean, that one behind, how far away did you shoot that?
That is kind of a funny story. I missed that bull really close. And then the follow-up shot was 32 or 34. I can't remember. And that one got him right in the heart. That first shot, I got a deflection. I had to tuck it underneath a branch. And, of course, I'm the worst at if there's a tree or a branch right there, I'm going to hit it or deflect off of it. So I got a deflection right underneath him. He had no idea, his nose up the cow's butt. And so as she took off, he followed her out and stopped somewhere in the 30s. And that second one got him right in the heart. So I had a clear path, so it was good.
You were telling me, or one of you two were telling me about you the other day. You said you got target panic at one point, I think, and you put a clicker on your bow.
Oh, I was the worst. I mean, literally the worst. I was so bad when I was a kid because, my dad gave us a bow and he didn't know anything back then. He's like, oh, just pull it back, touch your cheek and let it rip. And that's how I shot, and had a bow that was way too heavy. A good friend of ours was building bows. He built me like a 58-pound compound when I was 11 years old and weighed longbow. I was 11 and weighed about 80 pounds. I could hardly pull the thing back, let alone shoot with good form. And so, yeah, I had the worst target panic. And, from 12 to 15, just out there missing elk like crazy. And so when I was 15, I got determined to be a good shot and put a clicker on my bow and got to a solid anchor and was shooting with increasing tension. And from there on, it was a pretty good shot and started having some success.
Yeah. So I'm just bringing up things that I've heard. Now, I think you should, the Clumb buck. How big was that buck?
Clumb buck. Nobody knows about the Clumb buck. It was the one that got away.
We won't talk about that, but these guys are on.
Yeah, we were joking the other day because Danny was making fun of me. And when we were kids, you pulled it back to your corner of your mouth and you let the arrow go, right?
Yeah, that's what I do now. I did it yesterday.
That's the worst. That's the worst thing you could ever do.
You do it right here like this,
Yeah, I wasn't holding it. Touch and go.
That too.
So we were joking about all the animals that we should have killed if we knew what we were doing. And if I knew what I was doing, everyone would know of the Clumb buck. It was it was a big one. We'll just leave it at that. I don't like to talk about it that much.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah, I remember the first time I went elk hunting with a bow, and went out with my cousin out, and we didn't know what we were doing. We didn't know about like checking wind or anything like that, and we just went out and started calling elk. And sure enough, all these elk came in, and over the course of like 4 days, we shot all of our arrows. And that's never happened to me again. Now that I can actually hit what I'm aiming at.
Well, it's amazing on my point of view, because I basically sat one night, we did that long distance shooting, like ethical shooting distance podcast, and I was getting hate mail galore, which I'm used to, but basically you're not going to get, shoot a trad bow and we'll
Aaron,
see.
You're a national treasure. Nobody hates you.
Oh, yeah, exactly. I'm a little blunter than I should be. Is that a word? So anyway, I was like, I'm going to just shoot a trad bow and see if I like it. So I sent out a text to like 5 of my buddies, and I'm like, I'm going full retard. I'm going to shoot a trad bow. And Ziegman, Dave, one of our buddies, was one of them. He's like, you better go see the Clumbs, otherwise you're going to suck. And I'm like, all right. So there I showed up, and I'm like, let's do this. And then I shot a Palmer. What is that? Their classic?
Palmer Classic. Yeah, we put a bunch of bows in your hands.
Oh, for the love of Pearl. I shot probably 30 bows that day. I shot Schaefer's, Pronghorns, Palmer's, Hawks, Bob Lee's. What else did I shoot?
Every bow in our store, and we got about all of them.
Oh, it was crazy. And so I ended up buying your dad's bow, because the one I wanted, the poundage and weight and whatever length and everything, was the Senior's bow. So Senior sold me his bow. And I was going to shoot the Palmer. Then we ended up working with Hoyt. So your dad took that bow back, and now I'm shooting a Buffalo. But I think in the course of 4 days, my draw length grew 1.5 inches. Because watching photos when I first shot, and people are like, oh, yeah, your form, you're not doing this. And I'm like, it looks normal. And then I look now, I'm expanded like 1.5 inches. And I think I was 28.25 when I went in first, and now I'm just under 30-inch draw length. And then to just shoot a blue face, a one-spot target, and not miss the target was like my big goal of mine. And I would shoot, and I would get so close, and I'd fling one into buckwheat, and I'm like, this is just not attainable. And then, now it's quite a bit different. But I guess, and I'm not trying to pump your guys' tires up, I couldn't have done it without these guys helping me. It is hugely important to have the form help, because we go to these shoots and I see guys that have shot like you're talking about, I guess you could say the older crowd or even the younger crowd.
That's the way it was back then.
Well,
everyone like that.
It's literally when they draw, it hits the face and it is gone. And people watch me shoot, and I hold for 3 to 5 seconds. Obviously, if I need to snap shoot, I can. And I expand, obviously, to perform back tension. And guys are like, what do you shoot, FITA? And I'm like, no. What do you mean? They're like, you got kind of FITA shooter form. And I'm like, well, I'd like to think I have good form. I don't know if that means I have FITA shooter form, but people are so used to guys snap shooting. When you actually hold a recurve back for 2 to 3 seconds, it's a lot of guys wrong. They don't know that may technically be what you're supposed to do.
Yeah, and it's hard to say if there's a wrong and a right. I would never say there's a wrong or a right, but I think there are certain things that promote consistency, and there are definitely certain things that make it easier for a loss of control to creep in. Like snap shooting, you're talking about guys touching their face and letting go. Some of those guys couldn't hold on to the string if their mother was standing in front of them. They have lost control of their shot, lost control of any of the process, and that leads into other problems. So snap shooting, like you're saying, there are times when I'm hunting, I want to be able to snap shoot, but there's times where that elk walks behind a tree, I'm going to draw my bow right then. and I need to be able to hold it until he steps out or whatever, or for whatever reason. And so having control of your shot is for a hunter, I'd say it's vital. I wouldn't say it's definitely not wrong. And for a target shooter, why wouldn't we want to emulate the best shots in the world? Why wouldn't we want to shoot like FIDA guys? They're hitting small targets on a regular basis. You don't want to shoot like that? Why? And it's crazy. It's craziness.
And I could see your dad has me snap shoot from time to time just to check. Like, you're going to have snap shoot in the field, fling a couple down there and get comfortable with it. You don't want to get target panic, but he'll have me kind of follow along, like simulating a walking target, and he'll have me lay down on my stomach, which is extreme pain in the butt, and shoot, lay on my back and shoot. He had me do all kinds of funny stuff, and he gave me kind of the parameters of what I can expect. He goes, I guarantee this year you will have a shot that you would not be able to take with a compound, that you will be able to make with a trad bow. And from what I've seen so far, that is definitely true. He's like, during your course of your trad hunting, as time goes on, you will probably kill a bull on the second or third arrow. He said he's killed 3 on his second and third arrow.
3-shot Tom, that used to be his nickname.
Well, the turkeys were the same way. Normally with the compound, they don't like hang around all the time. These guys I shot and they were like, what was that? Just different noise, different reaction to, of course, I've only shot at turkeys. It's not like I'm an expert, but he's going through this list of different things. And I'm like, as I shoot now, I'm like, yeah, I can see. I know last year that big buck I got 18 yards from, if I would have had a stick bow, I can't say I would have hit it, but there would have been an arrow let loose for sure. Where with a compound, I got to draw, I got an anchor, I got to line up the peep with the housing, and then I'm, back tension. I was shooting a back tension. I could have just snapshot it with that, with the recurve.
Yeah. Honestly, that's another, I don't want to say it's a myth, but it's a unfortunate perception of hunting with a traditional bow. You're not at a disadvantage, especially at closer distances. If anything, I'd say that you're at an advantage because you can take faster shots or shots at different angles. I know when Danny, I'll let him tell the story, but when he first switched over to a compound because of shoulder issues, there was plenty of elk that got away. It pissed him off because he knows if he had his recurve in his hands, he'd have got that elk. He didn't have time to settle in. You know what I'm talking about?
Oh, yeah.
You could probably describe that better than me.
Yeah, there's a couple. I mean, one bull ran in on us so fast. I drew that bow back, kind of anchored. I just had a little gap to shoot through between some pine boughs. And I'm looking through a peep in the sight housing, and I couldn't tell where that arrow was going to be. Was that arrow going to go? Because I'm not looking down the shaft like I am with a recurve. And I didn't know if that arrow was going to be in the branches below or, if it was going to go right through the center of that. So I had to do one of these and kind of look, okay, yeah, I'm clear by the time I got back up on it. Another bull bugled. That bull was off and gone to the races. And that was the first year I hunted with the compound, one of the first trips out.
He was cussing it.
Yeah, I hated it. Like, dang. And it was 12 or 14 yards. Like, that was just a chip shot with a recurve. So there are situations like that. And obviously that pendulum swings back advantage to the compound as you get out to further distances just because of the accuracy that you can shoot them with. So, there are times when that helps too. But I'd say within my effective range, within that 30, 35 yards, I'd still, even after shooting a compound for 4 years, I'd still rather have a recurve in my hands in the elk woods. So,
well, how far away was your sheep this year?
The shot was about 38 yards. When I first peeked up over the little rock outcropping, this little pinnacle, when I first peeked up over, they were bedded at 12. And
I bet you had shit running down both legs when you saw that.
Up over, you just could see the tops of all the horns of this group of rams. It was pretty awesome. And I knelt back down to get ready. By the time I came back up, the wind had swirled. They smelled me. I didn't know what happened. I just peeked back up and I saw a sheep standing out there at 40 and like, oh crap. Drew back, came up, and the whole group was standing out there at 40. My cousin was looking through the spotter from across the valley and he said, it must have been a gust of wind because they all just jumped up at one time and trotted out there to around that 40 yards. So that's where the shot ended up being.
And he was what, 172, 178? What he scored?
His official score is 174 and 2/8.
Gotcha. Yeah, he's a good ram. Really good ram. And you had a bigger one, but your feathers got wet, didn't they?
That one, I don't think that one was bigger. He was
good one though.
Pretty comparable. Yeah, a really good ram. And yeah, you guys were out in that same rainstorm. It was a day of hell.
I was stuck. I was pinned down watching Phil get rained on 500 yards across, and we were thinking about you because later on, we're looking and there's not a place that's not dark black over that mountain range. And he's like, how do you think they're doing? And I'm like, probably about like us, because if I know Danny, he's probably in the same position we are, getting pissed on because probably rained for 3 days straight, dang near. I mean,
yeah, it was nasty. I was actually 20 yards from one of the best rams we saw. One of the original 3 that we found scouting that opening morning was 20 yards from him. He's in his bed. I had a perfect little rock outcropping. I was tucked behind. All I had to do was stand up right when that storm started rolling through. It got really windy. He smelled me and took off. The rain hit a couple hours later, which is around 1 or 2 o'clock, and it didn't stop till it solid through until 11 or 12 the next day. By the time I had to go down a valley, up over another mountain to get back into the valley we were camped in. When I got to the top of that other peak, there was 12 inches of hail on the ground. It was one of the most intense storms I've ever been out in. It was on August 1st. So yeah, it was something else.
So Danny, why don't you tell us about your shoulder? Like, you mentioned, switching to a compound. Can you explain, what happened there?
Yeah. So just,
He sold his soul.
yeah,
No, I'm joking.
Wrestling was just hard on my body. I didn't have a durable body. So, I've had 2 shoulder surgeries on my left shoulder. And actually, because of that, I had to switch. I was a right-handed shooter. I had to switch to shooting traditional bow left-handed. I did that for 3 years. And then I completely detached one of the rotator cuff tendons in my right shoulder. And kind of a complicated series of surgeries. One doctor screwed up, didn't get it fixed right, had to have another guy go in and do it. So for about a year, I didn't have use of my arm. And I've had 3 follow-up surgeries since then, cleaning out scar tissue. And I've actually got to get another one here soon. I've been putting it off so I can do some turkey hunting, shed hunting this spring. But I've got to get that scheduled. They got to go clean it out again. So yeah, I've had 6 total shoulder surgeries, got another one coming up here real shortly. And so right now I'm pretty limited. Even shooting a compound, I can only shoot, 10, 12 arrows before it starts aching pretty bad. I can shoot enough to shoot proficiently, at close ranges and keep hunting. So that, to me, at least I'm out there still and having fun. So
It's not bad for me. It's not bad for me either, because usually when we hunt together, he kills everything and I never get a chance. now he takes one shot, kills something, and he goes, I can't do it again, man. You're up. I'm like, I'll take one for the team.
Oh, Lord. Yeah. Well, yeah, the Clum family, they're definitely ninjas, because, I know the terrain you were hunting in, like for the sheep, and where, you guys hunt for elk, and, you guys get close. You guys get super, super close, and it's, for me, it's very, it's cool because I've used a compound for a crutch for so long. Guys would tell me a story like, well, the bull came out at 60 and I didn't take the shot. And of course I'm like, what's the problem? 60. I'm like, kidding? Where now I'm like, okay, I'm going to have to, basically be a lot sneakier, and that's one thing I, talked to your dad about and with you guys, and you guys, you don't really take any shots past 40, usually 35 from what I've inferred from talking with you guys. It's usually 30 and in, I'm guessing, isn't it?
Yeah, for the most part, right? My dad has killed a couple critters at 50, and made great shots. He didn't know it was 50 yards at the time. He just looked at an animal and said, yeah, that's a shot I can make, and he made it. But that's more of an exception. It's definitely not the rule, but 30 yards for a good shooter like my dad or like Danny was when he was shooting a recurve, that was a very makeable shot every time.
So tell us, like, after spending a lifetime of, getting close, how do you do that? How do you close the distance? Are you just got sneaky feet? What's the deal? How do guys do that?
I don't know. We're bow hunting. It's a close up sport, right? That's what people talk about when they talk about bow hunting is is the intimacy of it. Whereas with a rifle, that critter doesn't know you're around. You know, another mountain range sometimes, and so that's never been that's never been an issue. I mean, that's just what bow hunting was.
Kind of all we've ever known too. You just had, you know, especially when we were younger, we weren't that great at shots, so we had to get close to stuff. You just kind of learned how to do it. And our dad is an incredible stalker. I mean, he's really, really good at sneaking in on stuff and, you know, just how to place your feet and moving really slow. He has this thing called imperceptible movement, where when you get in tight on an animal, you got to move so slow that, you know, if somebody's on another hillside watching you, they almost can't even see the motion that you're making. So just moving that slow because you're within plain sight of an animal. And so, you know, just a lot of practice, a lot of screwed up and blundered stalks, and so.
Yeah.
Well, go ahead.
I was going to say, I think the biggest for me, like stalking in close to an animal, sneaking up on an animal, which there's not much that feels cooler than that. You know, being able to like actually sneak up and get right there and close the distance to like 20 yards. But that takes, I think, extreme amount of patience, and that's where I think most guys screw up. Like you talked about imperceptible movement. Most guys are not patient enough to even try that.
Well, I wish I would have had the trad bow and your guys' help last year, because that big buck would have, you know, it would have been the Snyder buck, you know, and I missed it twice in one sitting because of using a compound as a crutch, because I can shoot proficiently a long ways away. And I mean, you guys never shot with me with a compound, but I think Paul's talked about it. 100 yards isn't out of the question to shoot a paper plate on a bet.
Before we knew you, we'd see you at the range all the time, and you were pounding that gold in there.
Yeah.
Before you go out on the walking course, there's that elk target. I don't know how far that thing is, but we always see this, you know, big meathead taking far shots. And we're like, oh, all right, yeah, well, let's go shoot. But we didn't know you at the time, but I seen you shoot that far a lot.
Yeah, well, and patience is the problem. You lose. You don't. It's not that you even need it. Like, you don't have to be overly quiet to get to 100 yards. And I'm not saying, I'm saying that with a lot of experience of not being very quiet or patient to get to 100.
Well,
after that, you need to be.
I mean, you know, thousands of years of animal evolution has taught them there's this danger zone when a bear or a cougar or a wolf or something gets within, you know, 20 yards, you know, or 30 yards. I mean, I think they have like these killer senses for defending at those, you know, shorter ranges. You get beyond 100 yards, they still feel like they're pretty darn safe. It's not, I mean, the whole thing with guns and rifles and long distance shooting is relatively new in world history.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah. They definitely, you can build a forest fire when you hunt with Avery because they're 1,000 yards away, so you can stay warm. But I would say
they got no defenses for that, dude.
No, they don't. But I just, it's cool for me because it's brought a new, well, you guys, I'm all geeked up. Like, I had 3 compounds in the box I hadn't taken out at the house, where 15 years ago I would have taken off a day of work to set them up, where I'd get them. I'm like, man, it's gonna be a pain to put together. Now I'm in here pestering these guys, like, hey, what do you guys think? I got a new string. Can you make me a new string? What do you guys? You know, it's very exciting for me. I'm just gonna have to be more patient, because even turkey hunting, the turkeys are out there at 30, and I'm like, I could have shot you in the eyeball 3 months ago, but I'm going to wait until you get about 5 yards away so I know I can hit you. And I'm not used to that at all. So, what? Very
interesting. I was going to make a comment earlier when you guys were talking about good form, you know.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of times archers will go out and keep practicing. They practice a lot. They go to the range, they shoot every day, they practice and they practice and they practice. But they practice with the same bad form. And I remember getting a compound for the first time, you know, in like 10 years. I pull up this bow and I'm like gripping it like tight, you know, and I'm drawing the bow back, and then I'm punching the trigger as soon as the pin was as soon as I drop the pin and now, and I pull the trigger, like time it just right. So when the pin goes across the dot, I pull the trigger, right? Yeah. That was a horrible shot. And I would practice, shooting over and over and over again, like this whole like overpower my bow and muscle it into, some kind of
perfect that timing.
That's right.
Yeah.
And I would shoot like that, and I shot like that for a couple of years. And I'd practice over and over and over and over. And what I'm getting at is I actually got fairly good after putting in hours and hours and hours shooting that way. I got to be where I could actually do pretty good. And then when I went out in the woods and, there was a little more adrenaline and a little more, things going on, and I was also overdrawn like a couple of inches. So my arrow, I wanted to get this like super fast bow going. So a little extra, bow length helped a lot. Right. And, it was all set up all wrong. And so I remember shooting like that, but all the practice in the world really didn't, do me much good because the foundation I was working off and trying to perfect was so bad. So when I actually started someone started coaching me and saying, "Oh wow, man, you're horrible. Let me help you." And they started talking about hold the bow like this and draw like this, and use back tension. And I don't want you to punch the trigger. And in fact, I want you to be surprised when that arrow goes off. And those were all really, it was all eye opening, new, and once. After like a week of shooting like that, I had tight groups out to great distances. And within a year, I was a completely different archer. And so, I think Aron mentioned this last time, like perfect practice makes you better, not just practice. And it's so easy, I think, for us to, build on the wrong foundation, especially with traditional archery, where Aron was talking about there's catching features in a compound. You hit the draw stop. You have
housing and
there's all these things in place to sort of keep you from make it easier for you.
Limits human error more than it would with the recurve.
Exactly, and with the recurve, you don't have that same situation. So I think it's even more important that you're practicing, you're doing it the right way from the start.
These guys, go ahead.
I was just going to say, like what you're talking about, just kind of practicing and shooting the way you were shooting a death grip on your bow and slapping that trigger. Like you said, you can get pretty good at shooting like that. You can get pretty good shooting a recurve in any different kind of way, but you're going to eventually hit a wall or a limit that's like, okay, I'm a 20-yard shooter because that's about the best that this system can produce. And so I think, and this is my perception of traditional archery, just having grown up in it and been around it for a long time, and now knowing what we know now. But I think that most trad guys were 20-yard shooters because they were shooting with a system that really didn't allow them to get any better than that. And 20-yard shooter, most guys were okay with that. I'm hunting with the trad bow, I got to get close, and that's the name of the game. But and like I said, it's not like you can't get good like that in that certain close ranges. But if you want to start hitting targets at further distances on a consistent basis, then you got to start talking about shooting form and doing things the exact same every time, and nailing down the mental part of the game too, because the mental part is just as big as the physical form issue. But yeah, I think that's where form really comes into play, is increasing your effective range and being a better shot out further.
I can definitely see it because I shoot 40 and 50 too much because my short game sucks, but I shoot high all the time. But I'll usually, that's when I know I'm doing everything right, is if I can keep it in that Reinhardt 18-1 consistently at 50, I'm probably not doing too much piss poor. There's no piss poor habits being generated or reoccurring.
Yeah, because if your draw length is a half inch different from shot to shot, you're missing that target.
Yeah, and I had my first crisis moment not that long ago, and I had to call your father and say, "Hey, can you give me some coaching?" And we shot. And just being around your dad for me is like a comfort blanket because you're going to finish the range better than you started, right? You're going to be more knowledgeable, probably whatever. And your dad walks up, he's like, "Yeah, it's your head positioning is changing." I'm like, "What the?" Because I'm like, I was trying to break it down myself and figure out why at 50 am I shooting consistently a foot left? Like I had a group in the wood to the left of my Reinhardt target like this. And he's like, well, basically it looks to me like you're putting more effort into the shot. The farther it goes, you're probably overdrawing just a hair, but you're also standing more vertical, which is my bow is canted less, so I'm going more feet of form, and my head positioning is changing. And then 4 targets into it, I'm on the money, not left at all. And then we shoot we were shooting. In fact, I took money from your dad that day. Well, I'm very happy because that hasn't happened yet. But if he wouldn't have helped me, and this is the cool thing about your dad, if he wouldn't have helped me in the beginning, I would not have been taking money from him in the end, because once I got my form dialed in at 60 at that elk, I was in line with the leg, and we had a 5-shot, basically best out of 5. Well, the thing that's so cool is when you have someone like you guys or your father, you can just kind of look at him and be like, yeah, you're doing this wrong. Where a guy that doesn't know, it's probably just going to spiral down the crapper even more because he's just going to keep ingraining inconsistent form and habits.
Yeah, my whole childhood. You just.
Oh, Lord. Well, I think Brian has got to come see you guys stat when he gets here, because he's trying. You got a buffalo coming, right? And I ordered his draw length. He's got a hell of a bench press and a short draw. I think he's 27 and a half draw, so he's a little bit longer, but it'll be about 46 pounds at his draw. So hopefully he's not overbowed, and get some coaching from you guys, because
arms are kind of small. 40 might be much.
Oh, that's what.
Yeah.
Your bow now is 57, isn't it?
No, it's 48 at 28.
Okay, 48. No, the one you have the longbow?
Yeah, it's 48 at 28.
Because he was reenacting it on Skype to me, and he's like, dude, I'm like, I haven't used those muscles. I'm like, yeah, I know. I went through it, right? Like, I'd come to you guys and be like, there's parts of me that are sore that haven't been sore for a while. Is that normal? And I just hadn't used them.
When you pull your compound back, and you get it, and then all of a sudden it just gets easy. And back here, there's no muscle needed. Now here, I got lots of strength. Back here, your compound doesn't prepare you for holding the full weight at this position. So it took a little bit of time to just build up the muscle just to hold, at the back.
Honestly, when you get out here, we're going to have to go shoot a bunch just because it's fun for one thing.
Yeah.
But some of the new guys that have just gotten into the sport for the last couple of years, they're out shooting guys like me. I mean, I built some problems when I was 12. I remember when I started doing it.
Yeah.
And stuff I can't get over. And now there's guys like Aron walking into the sport. They're little tiny babies in archery, in traditional archery, and they're shooting circles around me. I'm like, this freaking sucks. I wish I would have started this when I was 30 instead of 3.
It's depressing on my end on some ways, because I can shoot fairly good, but I don't know anything, and so it's like I have to come in and suck up my pride, because every now and then I'm like, this is a really stupid question. I'm going to have to ask the 3, and I'm wondering who's going to make fun of me the least. The other day, these guys were calling me a chicken effer because I didn't know if they were chicken feathers or turkey feathers on the turkey hunting podcast. Dude. So Danny was calling me a chicken humper.
Dude, I got the same crap, like 50 emails about how they're made out of turkey feathers, not chicken, and there's no like synthetic feathers out there. There's a reason they use feathers. Believe me, like if you say something about trad and you don't have a clue what you're talking about, someone out there will help you figure it out.
You don't know what you're talking about, you're going to get a lot of comments.
Yeah, well, I do have to say I try my best to say as many times as I can that I don't know what I'm talking about to lessen the emails.
I think that's why you act dumb, because you know a lot more than you let on.
Oh, yeah.
It's not worth the emails, fellas.
Oh, I I can. It's unique for me because I can shoot. I mean, I can hit what I'm aiming at fairly consistently. But then there's other things I don't have a clue. Well, I called them chicken feathers. I didn't know. I was like, I think they're chicken feathers. Maybe they're. I don't know. There's just certain things in the tuning aspect that I'm like, the brace height, right? What should the brace height be? Even tiller. I had to call Matt Davis about something this morning specific to a buffalo because you only know what you know. And in my case, I don't know that much, which is why these guys have to deal with me every day. You learn, right? Like dude, going back in time, I probably would have sprayed something on my turkey feathers ahead of time before I went to Kansas because they went flat in like 5 minutes in the rain. And so I'm like, maybe they'll still hit good because my broadhead flight's pretty good out of the bow. Yeah, they hit okay, but I wouldn't want to shoot at anything over 10 yards away with the feathers being flat because it's just crazy arrow flight.
And apparently turkeys live to be 15 freaking years old, and I thought they lived to be 3. So, I mean...
learning.
Yes. Yeah. I think Aaron and I kind of expose our lack of. I mean, that's how you learn. You figure it out, But if you've never done it before and you don't know, there's no shame in not knowing.
Well, in all the different things I've ever won or shot it, I've never even, I don't think, touched a feather. I've shot vanes my entire life. Now I can break down any compound bow tuning. Guys were asking me on emails, should I shoot feathers for hunting with a compound? And I personally was like, I wouldn't do it for my limited knowledge. I don't see the benefits of it. And I think, Danny, you do shoot feathers with your compound, don't you?
Yeah, I learned that hard lesson this year too. So
I just, it's just not worth it for me. But I'd never even touched a feather. So I'm like, stupid. What glue do I use? Do I put like offset or helical? Should I shoot 3-inch or 5-inch? Because I'm used to shooting 2-inch vanes when I hunt with my, compound. And then tuning, I'm like, what do I got to do to tune? And Danny's like, your bow's tuned. It'll hit. And I'm like, really? I don't have to do anything? He's like, well, you shouldn't if everything's right. And you were right. I mean, you tuned my bow. You guys tuned my bow for me or got the right arrows. I can shoot like 8 different broadheads as long as they're 250 grain. They all hit in the same spot. Where with a compound, it'll look like 7.5 shot. They'll hit everywhere, Even with a properly tuned compound, generally every broadhead is going to hit a little bit different. Where, from my limited knowledge, out to 30, I can shoot whatever 250 grain broadhead, and they seem to all hit the same. I mean, a paper plate at 30 is as good as I get anyway. And is that?
It's not like trad bows are shooting fast enough speeds where that broadhead is going to plane or steer that arrow. So if your arrow is tuned correctly and it's flying straight, then you should be able to use most broadheads and have it hit exactly where any other one is hitting. It's just not going fast enough to cause the problems.
Yeah, for sure.
So, what is your favorite bow?
It depends on the day of the week, I guess. He's the worst. I change bows like I change socks.
Really?
Oh, I love them all. Yeah, there's too many different styles, and they all shoot a little bit different, and I enjoy that part. So that's something we always argue about because I like I'll shoot a bow because I think it's cool, not because I'm accurate with it or because it shoots better. And Danny just hammers on me for that. Like, no wonder you suck. You're missing everything. You're shooting different bows all the time. He shoots a bow that he shoots the best, and I shoot a bow that I think is cool. So yeah, a favorite bow. There's no way to answer that. It's like
what about
gone to the bathroom in your life? I don't know. How can you answer that?
What about Danny? What about you?
Yeah, I definitely I shoot recurves the best, and there's a couple local builders around here that while I was still shooting, I was shooting their bows. One guy in particular that passed away, I was shooting one of his bows kind of exclusively for the last 6 or 7 years that I hunted with a recurve. So, nice. Yeah.
But I've seen a couple of Tommy's bows that are really ugly, unique for me anyway. But way
to put it.
What's that?
That's a nice way to put it.
Well, the one thing I've learned, one of the first things I learned, if they say your bow is pretty, that generally means you're shooting probably bad with it, but it's a pretty bow. So
Yeah. Sure as a pretty bow is the biggest insult you could give.
Yeah.
That sucks.
Yeah.
But I got to find something nice to say about it.
Yeah, that's like saying, well, that one will eat good, which pretty much means it's a small animal, but it'll taste fine. Yeah, it's a pretty bow. It's called a code sign for your bow looks good, but you can't shoot for crap. But the guy you had, that was Rampart, right? Was it Rampart?
Yep.
Okay, so, but we're lucky here because, what is it? Wapiti, Palmer, Hawk, Rampart before, and what else? What other bow builders are close by? I say you guys have all of them, but I mean,
Yeah, Colorado's been a stronghold for traditional archery for quite a while. There's a bunch of good guys around here. There's a bunch of good hunters around here too. I mean, trad hunters. So there's no shortage of good bows to shoot, and that's true across the country. I don't know if there was a time, not in my life, where there's been more good options for good shooting bows. They're everywhere now.
yeah, you don't want to ground tune them. They don't like ground tuning. We have a friend, Dave. He listens to these, so he's going to give me crap about this, but Dave has ground tuned a bow a time or two in my presence. And
What does that mean?
I can demonstrate, but you throw it.
You throw it to the
It's out of
ground.
tune, and so you throw it to get it in tune. It does not work like you plan it. But I will say Dave can shoot, right? Dave's a good shot, and he just beat me, of course. So I'm going to say he's a good shot because he beat me. But with Dave, he kind of on the side of the mental game. You're only as good as your last shot because Dave's kind of a head case, and you're only good as the comfort level you are with your bow. And when I first started shooting, Dave was in a bit of a slump, and I was beating him consistently. And then he got a hawk. Is that what he's shooting now?
I think so, yeah.
He should buy 20 hawks or something. I don't know, but he can shoot that bow really good, and he's confident with that bow. And so he went like in this deep dive downhill with the trad bow, and now that bow he's got now, he's just super confident in it. Every shot he knows he's going to hit. And me being new, I'm visually watching all of this take place, thinking you're only as good as your confidence level. I'm only going to shoot one bow because I do not, I don't want to get my brain confused because it's a tiny brain, and I don't want to have, it's like having two wives, right? You're a Mormon, Brian, you know about that. I don't want to have two options. I want to have the one option and master that one for me, because I just think it would only screw me up or whatever, you know what I mean? And Dave at that time had 4 bows, I think. You guys might know.
Yeah, at least.
Yeah, he had several. And so I had some good lessons learned from Dave for me that I don't want more than one bow at one time because I think it would just screw me up. And a lot of guys, they kind of collect them. I've met guys with 30, 40 recurves at one time. How many do you have, Tommy?
Child's play. 30.
Oh, Lord, that's funny.
The thing is, it seems to me like with trad gear, it's not the same as it's not the same as owning like 5 different compounds that all have the exact precision stuff going for them, right? And it's tuned and you're using all these like pins and sights and everything. You pick up a recurve and it seems like that's just one's going to shoot one way, one's going to shoot another, and you're going to get a feel for that bow. And then when you switch, it's not going to be the same.
There's some truth to that for sure. I mean, their bows have different shooting characteristics, but if certain bows are going to point the same as other bows, and certain bows are going to point different. So, like, I'll use an A&H longbow for an example because they're one of the more well-known longbows. I pick up one of those bows and I shoot 5 inches to the right of any other bow that I own. So if I was going to shoot an A&H, I would have to pretty much just stick with that because I couldn't pick that up and then go pick up another one and shoot the exact same or point the exact same. I'm not going to hit the same spot. So bows that I switch between, they pretty much all point the same. They pretty much all hit in the same spot. And if I get one that doesn't, then I usually sell that one or move it along.
Nice.
Yeah, but there is some truth to sticking with one bow. I mean, that I would be a better shot if I did.
Even if when I had shot compounds, the guys at the factory would give me crap because I'd order 3 identical bows, and they're like, "Hey, don't you want to try this one?" I'm like, "No, I want them the same." And the buffaloes are the same. I have the exact same limbs, poundage, strings. Which I gave Danny the wrong string length a couple times. He's built me some strings for absolutely no reason because I gave him the wrong size. And that's another thing you guys do is custom strings. Before I forget, and then you do custom arrows, and you guys. Not wrap them, but here's my knowledge again. What's that called? Cresting. You custom cresting.
Is that where you like paint them fancy?
Yeah, paint them by hand.
Yeah, they offer that too. So quite a bit on the traditional side. Plus, you guys, what do you have for bows? Expedition, Prime, Bear. What is it all you guys carry?
Yeah, and Bowtech.
And Bowtech. Yep. And that's what you're shooting right now, right, Danny? Is a Bowtech?
Been shooting a Bowtech the last couple of years. I just got a Prime, so yeah. I'll be hunting with one of those 2 this year.
Well, and I've never asked you guys this before, so while we're on camera, what are your 2 like the most memorable animals for each of you? What would you say your number 1 animal is, or most memorable that you've taken, compound or trad bow?
Why don't you go first? I'm an elk guy, so. It's got to be elk. But, I'll be honest with you, the most memorable elk for me is not one that I shot. It's one that Kelly, our brother-in-law, shot. You've got to know Kelly a little bit. This is when he kind of picked up shooting a recurve in December. My dad and a buddy of ours, Tracy, bought him a bow for Christmas, gave it to him as a gift. And he dove in with both feet. He'd be out there shooting nonstop. He'd be hitting his arm with the string every time, and he'd keep shooting, and it'd be bleeding. He's still shooting, he just was into it. So we took him elk hunting that fall. First trip, we're backpacked in like 7 miles, 5-day hunt. Last day of the hunt, he shoots a 300-inch 6x6, and just seeing him through the whole progression, getting into it, shooting that bull, being so excited. It was one of the coolest things I've ever been a part of. So that definitely, I was more excited with that than I have been with anything I've ever shot.
And Kelly's about the nicest guy. He's got the permagrin going on. He smiles all the time. Constantly. And he's got the cauliflower ear going on too. Probably worse than, I don't know about worse. It's probably not worse than Tommy's, but his ears got a little bit of a pitch to him. So the cauliflower ears maybe exaggerated a bit. But when I first met him, he's cock strong. What is his bow? 70-some pounds?
Yeah, it's crazy heavy, and he holds it back like it's nothing.
Yeah, and we're yanking out arrows, and I'm up there double fisting trying to yank them out, and he's grabbing them, just yanking them out with one hand, and I'm like, man, I hope he doesn't get a hold of me.
The saying, if you're going to be dumb, you got to be tough. Yeah. He minimizes that. He was peeing blood for 5 days after that hunt Danny was just talking about.
He was beat up bad. And he's like this, right? His personality is like this. He's just steady Eddie, doesn't get excited, doesn't get down. And man, when he shot that elk, he lost his mind. He was jumping around like a little schoolgirl. So it was cool.
Well, you guys
like that.
wrestled with you in Wisconsin too. You guys lived together, didn't you?
Yep. Married our sister. Joke's on him.
Oh, that's funny. And then, well, I liked Kelly enough. I knew him like 3 days, and I knew, he was your cousin or whatever. And
brother-in-law. It'd be weird if you married my sister.
Yeah. Oh, well, no. When I first met, I thought he was because you guys all. I thought he was related to you, blood, right? But I'm talking to him for a while, and he was telling me he wanted a cargo panel. I liked him enough. I just brought him over my cargo panel and gave him one, and then. Because he's so level, like you don't see this great amount of excitement, but you could see his permagrin lasted a little longer. He was like, are you sure? And I'm like, dude, you're good. I want you to run it, because he's such a nice guy. Seems like he'd do anything for you. And he was telling me how he weaseled his way into go hunting with you, I think maybe Danny, because he had to get somebody to watch one kid and do a bunch of flip-flopping. Basically this long exaggerated scheme so he could actually go hunting when he shot his second elk. He shot another bull, right?
Yeah, he's killed 3 now in 5 years of hunting with a recurve. So
yeah, he's a cool dude. So what about you, Tommy? What would you say for you?
Man, I don't know. That's tough to say, but probably the first elk I killed. the season was over, right? There was one more day. Danny trying to talk me into going hunting, and I'm trying to think of excuses not to go. We were actually about to go on a moose hunt. I had to grocery shop. I had to pack. Like, I can't go hunting, man. What if I killed something? I'm not going to have time to do any of this stuff. He goes, if you kill an elk, I'll do all your shopping for you. So he talks me into going hunting when I did not want to go. And we sneak in on this herd of elk. It's snowing. There's elk like 70 yards away. And I'm like, well, last day of the season, I'm going to make a go for it. So I sneak my way into this group of elk, and I end up killing the first elk I'd ever shot that night. But that was probably it, because the season was over. I was done in my mind. I didn't really want to go, and he talked me into it anyway. So that's probably the one that sticks out the most.
Did he freak out, Danny? Did he flip out?
No.
No, he didn't jump
good.
up and down or anything. He was pretty calm.
He didn't lose his mind like Kelly did.
Oh, that's funny.
Pretty cool though.
Yeah, no, I'm sure.
Well, dude, we should probably wrap this up. But I'd like to do this some more down the road, especially. I mean, I might be down there here real soon, so.
Yeah, that'd be good. And honestly, I mean, I don't know how interested you guys' followers are in traditional archery, but there are some very. I would like to demystify some of the stuff with the sport. If you guys are ever interested, it does not need to be as difficult as people make it seem.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
They made it easy for me. I didn't even know they were turkey feathers, but I can shoot.
Well, I think Aron has shown that it's not, with some proper training and starting out on the right foot, with the right help, you can become a pretty decent archer. Of course, Aron was already good,
It's different though, man. I don't want to sound like a Clum leg humper because these guys give me crap about being an a-hole all the time, making jokes, but I can't thank you guys enough. And I don't think people realize, like, yeah, I shot a compound or whatever, but I would suck if it wasn't for you guys and your dad helping me out. And because you only know what you know. And then, yeah, I knew how to shoot a compound, but from tuning, I didn't know anything about tuning. And Danny's like, yeah, just shoot these arrows. And he's like, this one shoots, get these. Well, I know guys that are still tuning, and they picked up the bow 6 months ago. And Canton with First Light, he's having epic tuning crises. Right now, he can't get anything to fly, where with you guys, you walk in and relatively simple deal. And I can't thank you guys enough. It's been huge for me, and I'm super excited about hunting with it. You guys have been great, so I can't thank you enough. And your shop is awesome. You got everything in the world you could ask for in there. So,
thanks, man. That's what makes it worth it for us. That's why we love it so much. So.
And they like to make fun of me. Don't let them lie.
All right, guys. Well, thanks for coming on, and we'll do this again. Stay gritty.
Yeah, thank you, Brian. Appreciate it, man.
Okay, gritty friends. I hope you enjoyed that podcast. If you did, please take a moment to leave us a review on iTunes, Podbean, or Stitcher. We love reading your reviews. And connect with us on social media if you're on there. Look us up on Facebook and Instagram, and take a moment to subscribe to our YouTube channel so you can receive notifications when we upload new videos. We've got a sweet deal with Mountain Ops. You get 20% off on all Mountain Ops supplements, combo packs, and apparel when you type in the word gritty at checkout. If you're a hardcore elk hunter, or you want to be, go to the Elk 101 website online and check them out. Our friend Corey Jacobson is killing it with some of the best elk hunting information and entertainment on the web. If you haven't heard, we're doing a huge gear giveaway to try and grow and expand the gritty community on Facebook and Instagram. I asked a bunch of friends to pitch in on this gear giveaway, and they all came through with some awesome stuff. Our friends at Kafaru, Rockslide, First Light, Phelps Game Calls, One Shot Gear, Mountain Ops, Triple X Archery, Blacktail Outdoors, and Is It September Yet are pitching in some sweet gear for the giveaway. We'll announce all the details in the next few weeks. All you have to do to be entered to win is like our Gritty Bowmen Facebook page and follow us on Instagram. All right, friends, let me leave you with one other quote from Theodore Roosevelt, who said, "It behooves every man to remember that the work of the critic is of altogether secondary importance, and that, in the end, progress is accomplished by the man who does things." We all have a choice. We can be people who do things, or people who criticize the work of others. It's pretty simple, really. Get out there and do your thing. Good luck on your hunts, and stay gritty.
This is Ty Stubblefield, and you're listening to the Gritty Bowmen.
Gritty Bowmen.